Hey guys, Sensor here, and in this Borderlands 3 video, I just wanted to go over the current build that I'm using for Fleck. Now I am max level, level 50, and I am going through my first playthrough of True Vault Hunter mode. So this particular build uses Master and Hunter, and I have no skills in Stalker. Stalker is really nice, and there are some great skills in here, but with what I wanted to do and with the items that I have, I couldn't really afford to put any points in there. So the overall point of this build is to do a lot of damage while still having some pretty good survivability. And yes, there are some nice survivability things in the Stalker tree, but I also wanted my pet to be, pretty good. I want my pet to be bulky and actually contribute. It's the whole reason why I played Flex. So I wanted to be able to have a decent pet build while still doing some good damage as Fleck. So in terms of order, like if you're looking at this build to, and I will leave a link as well if you wanted to look at the actual um, skill build. Uh, Besides the video, I'll leave a link in the description. But basically, if you're doing this as you're leveling, I would start off in the master tree. If you're doing this much later, or if you just want to switch the build, then it doesn't matter. But the reason I would start off in the master tree is this way you can start off still getting some good damage. The first skill I would definitely put in is Persistence Hunter because it just increases flex, gun damage, and action skill duration. Um, Now, with the particular action skill that I'm using, the duration isn't really a big deal, but this is 12% extra gun damage. And then I would just put a point in, I would put a point in both of these. Or you could just put both of them in the pet critical hit, because it makes them automatically do a critical hit, and then it'll increase the damage that their pet's critical hit it will be. Um, and then that way, if you're going down this tree at the beginning, once you get to the next stage, you can kind of decide where you want to go. If you need more defensive options, then you can go with Who Rescued Who, because that just it makes you and your pet have better health. So you'll Flak will get health regeneration, and your pet will just be restored with health whenever you damage. Um, Whenever you damage, your pet will get health restored. Whenever your pet damages, then you get health regeneration. And if you need more offense, then you have this nice frenzy skill. So as long as your pet is attacking, you'll get stacks of frenzy, which will increase Flak and his pet's damage. And then I have just one point in here just because it lets your pet return some of the damage. If you want to put that point, you don't necessarily need that. I just wanted that extra damage reflection. Uh, but you can take that point out and put it in Frenzy or Who Rescued Hugh. But I would at least put a couple points in both Frenzy and Who Rescued Hugh as you're leveling. Uh, so you have some decent attack but also health regeneration. And whichever you want more of, then just go with that. And then finally, this part of the tree is really nice because I would definitely, if you need more defense, I would definitely go with this one first because it basically gives Flak a 15% damage reduction. All the damage that you'll take, 15% of that will be shared to your pet. And then the other one is another kill skill. So whenever you kill an enemy, your pet will get movement speed and damage. So that's really nice. Now, if you're leveling at this point, you could go to the other tree, but I would keep going. This is only 4 points, so I'll just put another point in one of these skills. Because in order for this tree to work, and you've gotten this far, you're definitely going to want to go to get mutated defenses. This is the big skill for your pet. The main reason of going down this tree, if you want your pet to be bulky and to be able to, share damage with your pet. This makes your pet get a 30% damage reduction at low health and regenerate 40% of their max health over 6 seconds. Now, there is a cooldown after that for 15 seconds, but I have played with and without this ability, and it is very noticeable. At higher levels, especially at the level I'm at right now, if you do not have this ability, your pet will most likely die a lot. And then it's not very useful, and all these other stuff is not, you know, this is a useless skill. If your pet's dead, you can't share damage with it. So if you're gonna want your pet, if you're gonna want to invest into this tree, you need to get this, and I would get it sooner rather than later. Now, at this point, if you do want more damage, you can go to the hunter tree. Um, so I'll come back to this tree. So if you get this point and you want some more damage, go to the hunter tree. And I would start with, for sure, Interplanetary Stalker. I'd probably use them all 5 points of that row at first uh, in that tree. Or I would probably use four and then one of this. Uh, Second intention is just it's extra reload speed. Whenever you kill an enemy, you get increased reload speed. And reload speed can be really nice. If you happen to be using a lot of weapons that just have a really quick reload speed, then sure, don't worry about doing that. But this is a build for just general play and without really knowing what weapons you have. And just having that 1 point will definitely make a difference, as you'll see later on in the build. But Interplanetary Stalker is another kill skill, specifically hunter skill, and every time you kill an enemy, then you get a stack. And at max, it's a 10% per stack, so it stacks up to 3 times. So you can have up to 30% extra damage, and that's just straight up damage. Doesn't matter what you're fighting, 30% extra damage after you kill 3 enemies. Um, and then you will get an extra bonus depending on the type of enemy you're fighting. So if you're fighting robots, you do more corrosive damage. Fighting humans, your action skill will do more damage. And then if you're fighting beasts, you get a movement speed increase. Now, speaking of action skills, I am using the rack attack action skill in this tree. In this build, rather than the gamma burst. Both are again good options, and it kind of depends on what you're doing. Builds in general in this game will kind of depend on just what you want, but also mostly on the skills you have. And taking a break from the skills for a second, I have a couple different options here that increase my rack attack, or are affected by rack attack. Like this anointed gun makes me do 25% crit damage, or I gain 25% critical hit damage for a short time whenever I use rack attack. And then this one is enemies damaged by rack attack take 50% increased damage for a short time. So that makes me do a lot more damage. I'm doing 50% more damage to that target, and my crits are 25% stronger. So, that's pretty significant. Again, if you have stuff like that, then, I think Rack Attack is good. Also, I have this other one where on action skill end, regenerate 5% health. And the Rack Attack goes out quick and it's over with quick. Whereas the Gamma Burst lasts for quite a while, and in order for Gamma Burst to actually be decent, you want it to last as long as possible. So, that's why for this build, the Rack Attack is definitely the best option. And then I'm using the health one, so when I recover health whenever I damage somebody with a Rack Attack, and I'm using currently the extra charge, because the more charges I have, the more I can use Rack Attack, the more I get those extra bonuses. So I can both get health regeneration and health restored, or not health regeneration, just actually no, yeah, health regeneration, and health stored, and then I can have more. And yes, cooldown is longer, but in this part of the tree, which I haven't gotten to yet, whenever you get a critical hit, action skill cooldown is reduced. So, well, there's a chance. So it's only 10%. I only have 1 point in it just for that chance, but it's still you know, if you're getting a lot of crits, you'll be able to get, you'll just trust me, you'll notice a difference. You'll be able to get your rack attacks fairly quickly, just having 1 point in the skill. Also, if you happen to have some other cooldown reductions, that'll help. And then, of course, you want to max out Hunter's Eye. Now, I have a artifact as well that's giving me these extra points. So, I believe yeah, those are the only ones. So I'm getting 2 points in here, 1 point in here. Uh, but anyway, this makes you do more crit damage against humans, more armor damage versus robots, and then you get a nice damage reduction versus beasts. So with these two action skills, you're getting bonuses based on who you're fighting. The beast bonuses are defensive in nature, movement speed and damage reduction. But it's nice because if you're dying, it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing. You're gonna die. If you go down a lot, eventually your fight, second wind isn't. You're not gonna be able to kill enemies. It doesn't matter how strong you are. So you want some defensive properties. And this action skill damage is really nice because you're going to use your rack attack more and just it'll be a lot stronger. So there's a lot of different options, and it also it kind of depends on what you're fighting. So racks will do fire damage by default. The having the additional rack is also kind of nice, um, but I'd rather use the ability, have more charge for the ability. Now, if you happen to need more cryo, or if you know you want to do extra armor damage, or if people are immune to fire, then I would take out instead of the extra charge or racks, then I would go with the cryo damage. But I would always have this for the extra health that you get back. And I put a few points in this just because firing an extra projectile is more damage, but it's not absolutely essential. If you really want to have even better chance of getting your cooldown, then you could take those points out, put them in here, or get you even better reload speed. But either one of those options is good there. And then this is the main row, the main reason why I wanted to get down the hunter tree. Both of these skills are really nice, and I really enjoy them. So this hunter skill uh, makes it so that whenever Flat kills a badass or stronger enemy, then they get increased crit hit damage, gun damage, and handling. Plus you get some extra money. Now I have again an extra point, so I'm getting more, but as you can see, that's a pretty sizable gun damage increase and critical hit damage. And the best thing is it lasts for 2 minutes by default, right? So that's a long time. And when you're playing at high level and or especially you're playing with other people, you're going to see those enemies a lot. So you will be able to have that almost all of the time, except for maybe when you're in a boss fight, you might not see those enemies, but for the most part, you'll be able to get those. And if you're lucky enough to kill some before a boss fight, then it'll still be there. And again, this one is really good, which I also recommend maxing out because it makes all of your hunter skills last longer and be more effective. So it'll last twice as long and 30% stronger. And that counts for hunter skills. Anything that says, hunter skill, hunter kill skill. So that's the most dangerous game. The second intention for your reload speed, the damage bonuses from interplanetary stalker, um, the frenzy from this tree. I'm not sure if there was any. Oh yeah, the psycho head and the stick. Um, so yeah, that's pretty significant. And if you happen to get this um, furious attack, it works for that too. But there's not really enough points to really go into that. So I definitely would max those out, and then um, I had a few. Once I was done with everything, I had a few points left over, so I put it in this. At first, I had 3 points in Furious Attack, uh, but I think that overall this is a better option because Furious Attack only affects gun damage and handling, and even though it does stack to 10 times, this will affect your gun damage and your action skill damage. So overall, you're gonna get more effect out of this. Now, as for the hunter skill tree, I mean the master skill tree, the rest of those points um, will go into the barbaric yelp. I'm not actually sure how that's pronounced, but it makes your pet bonuses stronger. So, each pet will give you a certain bonus or two bonuses for the evolutions, and so this will actually increase what those bonuses are. So, like right now, with having 4 points in it, this skag will actually give me much more gun damage and regular damage. You could also get the fire rate, um, but yeah, I've noticed that at least it's not displayed. The jabbers don't seem to get an increase, or at least the game doesn't display that they're getting an increase. But it does work. It does show it for the skags and for the spider ants. And if you go through this build, you'll be able to use both evolutions of skags and both evolution of the spider ants. So at that point, it's really just do you want the extra damage bonuses from the Skags, or do you want the extra defensive bonuses from the Spider Ants? Also, the damage that they do. So the Great Horn Skag will charge the enemy, knock him in the air, and then the other one does a singularity. From my experience, honestly, I do use the attack commands most of the time, but there's a pretty big delay between you using the attack command and the pet actually using it. So unless you're fighting like really strong enemies, they usually end up dying before your pet can use the attack command. So in terms of what the actual attack command is, I wouldn't worry too much about that. In terms of my favorite attack commands, though, I would probably say it's the Spider Ant Countess. It's a really nice burrow. I feel like they do it faster, but I'm not entirely sure. And having that health regeneration and damage reduction is nice. So, like in my opinion, I would go with either the Spider Ant Countess if you need some more defense and health regeneration, or the Great Horn Skag if you want more damage. Because fire rate is good as well, and it kind of depends on your weapon, but overall I would rather take the gun damage. And then finally, the last row would be Shared Spirit. So, again, at low health, 50% of the damage you take will go to your pet, and with all these other abilities, your pet's going to be very tanky. I have definitely noticed that it takes a lot to kill my pet, so that just that makes your pet really tanky, and that makes you more tanky because of that. And then finally, Pack Tactics, which is just a really nice skill, maxed out. It's just a flat 15% extra damage and maximum health to both you and your pet. So adding more damage and survivability. Um, Now you can use Gamma Burst if you happen to not have any rack attack things and you kind of want to use Gamma Burst. You can use that. If you use Gamma Burst, I would definitely use the Endurance one because that makes you do more damage. It makes them do more damage, and more importantly, it makes the skill last longer. Now you can get this nice fat 20% damage increase, but I really enjoy the Rift, um, the Burst Aid, because you get 20% of your max health per second. Now you do have to be fairly close to it, so you would have to either sacrifice the damage by putting it away from the enemy so you can stand in it, or you would have to sacrifice getting killed more easily by standing up close and personal with enemies. But either way, these are really nice. And if you really just like this and you don't necessarily need the extra health, then you can go with Gamma Burst, have this endurance to increase the duration and damage, and then have that nice 20% increase. But either way, with this build, I think both of those will work. Either Gamma Burst or Rack Attack. It just kind of depends on what you personally want and your artifacts. Um, so yeah, those are all the different skills. Uh, I'm not gonna really go over the weapons and stuff, but I do want to just make a quick comment because it kind of depends on what you have. But again, I'm using these anointed Beastmaster things because uh, I'm using Rack Attack because I have these anointed Beastmaster things. I don't know. I know I have one for Fadeaway, and I thought I had one for. Oh yeah, then there's one for getting lifesteal for using your attack command. And oh yeah, this is a good one too. When your action skill ends, your cooldown rate is increased. So this would be really nice to be added to your rack attack, or even the gamma burst, because the gamma burst has a much longer cooldown. But I think that's all I have. Yeah, there is one, unless I have it on. No, I don't have it on. But there is one that makes it so that whenever you use Gamma Burst, then you'll do more radiation damage. And the artifact that I have actually is really good for this tree as well. Oh yeah, that's why I had the extra 2 points. And again, this is gonna be random, but the actual passive effect is you get a 3% chance to activate any purchased hunt kill skill when dealing gun damage. So, and in bosses also, this is huge for boss damage because bosses are now going to be treated as humans, beasts, or robotics for your hunt skills. So, in terms of if you want to make the most out of this build and you want this to work on bosses, then you definitely want the bounty hunter mod. And the other effects they're bonuses, but this effect does not change. The 3% chance to activate hunt kill skill does not change, and that's really big because and it's just from doing gun damage. So at some point in a boss fight, you're shooting, you could just activate the most dangerous game. If they're human or robot especially, you'll get this nice damage increase. Uh, you'll get frenzy. So it's really good against bosses because you can get those effects without actually having to kill anybody. And even when you're fighting normal people, you can get those effects without having to kill anybody. So those are the skills I use. That's the artifact that I definitely recommend getting. There are a couple other good ones. Again, if you're going with this build, I definitely recommend the Bounty Hunter one. But this other one is really nice. More if you want to go more offensive and less tanky with your pet, because this one will make it so that whenever you kill an enemy, your pet gains second wind. So if your pet's not tanky, for instance, if you use that build, if you use that artifact, then you could take some points out. You could technically just get rid of these here and just stop up here, right? And then you can use all those points to go into getting more points here, and then of course going down this tree for the extra, furious attack, cooldown, stuff like that. Um, but for this particular build, definitely Bounty Hunter. Deadeye is also good because it makes you and your pet do 35% additional damage when they're above 75% health. So, you can start the fight doing a lot of damage. And then this one was the one I was using before. Cosmic Stalker is also really nice because it makes your hunt skills 25% stronger. So these are definitely the two. Bounty Hunter or Cosmic Stalker, specifically Bounty Hunter if you can, is what I would get for this build. And that's all you really need to know about the build. And I'm just going to end it with showing you some gameplay. Um, and again, right now, I am playing with Mayhem 1. Uh, there are no bonuses to any of my weapons besides. Actually, yeah. Well, yeah, besides fire rate and reload speed. So you'll get a good idea on how this build plays without any um, positive bonuses. But if you like the video, please give a like and subscribe for future videos. I'll be doing more Borderlands videos and more build videos on. I plan on doing more on Fl4k as well, but also I've been leveling up Amara, so I will hopefully be doing a build on Amara at some point, and also possibly Moze. So, as always, thanks for watching.